Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. If you're watching that must mean you're interested in getting the Convergence mod for Elden Ring. Good for you, I hope it's joyful for you. But first, I'm guessing you want to do research and understand what exactly you're getting yourself into. And that's what we will be doing today's video. I will be showing you some of the things they add to the game, along with some bosses, the classes, everything to get you set up so you can approach this game, this mod, with some understanding of what you're getting yourself into. So, let's get right into it. Alright, so to begin off with is the classes. Now this is very important and most definitely can affect how your run starts off as. As you can see here, they have several mini classes and they have none of the original classes. So I will go through all of them and explain the basic gist of them so you have an idea of maybe who you want to play or what you want to be. So to start off with, we have the Retainer, who is primarily a more strength-based build. It's a more knight-like build, perfect for those who, are okay with a mixed build who can easily switch over from one thing to another. Next, we have the Vanguard. He is a spear-based character who is, again, also mostly strength-based, but also has the ability to change to different things such as any dex weapon or strength-based weapon. Also having a very nice amount of health, similar to the Retainer. Next is the Marksman, who has a good amount of dexterity and strength as well, but has a lot more mind compared to, well, not even compared to the other two, but compared to some of the other characters. Now again, this character also has the increased intelligence and arcane compared to some of the other more brutish based characters. He also has long range capabilities, just like the Retainer, which I forgot to mention. But he also has the added abilities of good endurance, which again similar to the same as the Vanguard, which can be very helpful in battle. Next, we have the Berserker, who starts at level 7 and is most definitely probably the most barbarish build out of all the builds, having relatively lower mind, lower intelligence, and faith, even dex being on the lower end, but having very high strength and high endurance and vigor, which definitely make him a very good character. He also has the added bonus of level 10 arcane off the bat, which definitely can help in the long run. Now next we have the Dreadnought, who is level 10, has 16 vigor, and is primarily also a strength character. Now the Dreadnought compared to the Berserker has some different benefits, as while he is still more of a strength-based character, he can more easily switch over to a dex-based weapon or a weapon that scales off dex and strength without losing too much of it. He comes with a shield to get some good blocks in, and comes with a definite heavy weapon. He does tend to lack on the intelligence, faith, and arcane side though. Next, we have the Sellsword, who is level 8 with 13 vigor and is primarily a dex-based character. So, your katanas, your spears are really gonna shine here. Of course, he does have relatively good strength and endurance, so you shouldn't lack too much in either one of those departments if you wish to switch over to them in the long run. He also does have relatively good stats in his intelligence, faith, and arcane, and his weapon of choice is a double-sided sword. So you can definitely get some very good bleed procs off very quickly with his beginning weapon, which could definitely lead to some very, very fast and good victories. Next, we have the Rogue, who is level 9 and is primarily a dex character, using a piercing weapon and using a bow and arrow plus a buckler. Again, this is one of those characters that are, while they could be a good strength character in the long run, starting off, dex is really going to be your friend here, with it being most definitely a primary dex character. It does have the Rogue does start off with relatively good endurance, mind, and vigor, though, and does have relatively good stats in both its intelligence and arcane category. So a very good choice if you're a dex specific character. Next, we have the Glintstone Sorcerer, who starts out at level 6 with low vigor, but is a intelligence-based character. So, this is going to be your wizards and mages and all that stuff, if you're into that stuff. With 16 intelligence and 12 dexterity, you definitely have a relatively good start off, especially with your 15 mind you get. The only problem is that you lack in places like your vigor, endurance, and faith. So if you're more of a holy magician, wizard, whatever you want to call them, sorcerer, you might not want to pick this character, but still an overall good character, especially for a sorcerer first off. Next, we have the Star Caller. As the name implies, it's gravity-based magic. Starting off at level 9, overall, the Star Caller has relatively good stats, with 14 intelligence and 14 strength, both being its biggest numbers, being its primaries. It does also come with a katana off the bat, the Meteor Blade, if I believe I'm saying that right. And it does have good dex, endurance, mind, and vigor. It only really lacks in is faith. Arcane isn't the greatest, but it's definitely not a bad start. So the Star Caller is definitely a good roundabout character. But we'll talk about real roundabouts later. Anyways, next we have the Underworld Mage, a level 9 character whose primary is in dexterity and intelligence. A definite good character for a player who wants to play with magic, but also wants to be able to rock a piercing weapon or a spear or katana. It definitely is a pretty good start. They also have relatively good stats with 11 vigor, 12 mind, 11 endurance, and 11 strength. And arcane also being at 9. Again, its only weak part is its faith, but considering it's a dex and intelligent primary build, it's not going to be likely that anyone who's starting off with such build would want to start there. Next, we have the Volcanoist, starting at level 11 and is primary a faith and intelligence character. A very good character for what it is, as you can guess by the name, volcano-based moves. That's going to be lava. Lava's like the only thing that goes into that category. I guess fire. I don't know if fire goes into that category. I admit I haven't done that side yet. Point being is, they do have relatively good stats. They do have a strong lead in dexterity with 10, mind with 15, and vigor with 11. It does lack in both endurance, strength, and arcane, but it's not very bad in general and wouldn't probably put you at too much of a risk starting early or if you're just not great at the game. Next, we have the Stormcaller, which is probably the second best all-around character. I could be wrong, but definitely one of the better ones. Starting out at level 12, this character is again also a primary intelligence and faith character, but has the added bonus of having its dexterity, strength, and endurance both all three at 10. With its vigor and mind also being at vigor being at 13 and its mind being at 12. Its only lackluster property is arcane, but arcane's only 8, so in the long run it doesn't start off that bad. And will definitely give you a really good start with its halberg and I'm not sure on the staff's name, but definitely has some good starting gear. Next is the Nox Oracle. I hope I'm saying that right. At level 15, being a primary intelligence and faith character as well, with dexterity being its other strong suit. Again, it has good pierce damage, so pierce, so rapiers, spears, katanas even. Though katanas definitely will be a little bit more lackluster given the strength being on the lower end out of everything. Its other strong suits are endurance, mind, and vigor, with vigor being 11, mind being 14, and endurance being 10. So good all-around stats. Arcane being its lowest, only at 8, but again, you're going for pierce, so I doubt Arcane's going to be first thing on your mind. And even if so, with the stats given, you probably could get that Arcane leveled up pretty high before you want to concern yourself with your other stats. Anyhow, next we have the Necromancer, who uses Ghost Flame. So, very cool indeed. Starting off at level 7, level 15, with, again, Faith and Intelligence being its strong suit at 16, and Mind also being at 16. It doesn't shine particularly well in any specific areas, but Ghost Flame is not percentage, but it scales off faith, so a high faith number is definitely going to be beneficial to you. So you don't want to concern yourself with the other stats as much. Now, you do have 10 vigor and 10 arcane, so that also is definitely very helpful. Now, your strength and dexterity are also at 9, so they're not low necessarily, so it's not even really something you need to worry about. Endurance is actually the lowest stat here at being at 8, but again, early game, it's probably not going to affect you much. Next, we have the Frost Witch at level 9, with Arcane Intelligence being its primary at 14, and its mind at 15. Now, the Frost Witch is definitely interesting. I mean, we got Ronnie-based clothing, so that's already a win for, I think, most people, especially you guys. But, anyways, our vigor is at 11. The dexterity is at 10 and the dexterity is high because it's pierce. Its starting weapon is I don't know the name of it, but it's a pierce specific weapon. And it does frost damage, so you'll definitely have a pretty good time with that. Endurance is at 9, which is fine for what it is, and its strength's at 8, the strength is at 8, which might be a little, might push some people away, but I mean, you're magic based anyway, so I doubt most people are going to be that worried about it. Its faith is actually its lowest stat, being at 7, so holy probably is going to be your holy based magic's definitely going to be your weak lawsuit, your weak suit. But that's okay. I mean, you have Frost is pretty good in the game, so, well, not even pretty good, it's really good, so it shouldn't even be too much of a problem. Next, we have the Albernate Heretic at level 10, with also Intelligence and Arcane being its primary. Dexterity, Strength, and Endurance, and Vigor all being at 10, so relatively good stats. Again, Faith being its weak suit, once more, unfortunately, but again, this is more fire-based stuff, so most people probably probably aren't picking it for the holiness. Anyways, next we have the Flame Prophet, which does use flame related things. That's cool. Starting off at level 10, their primary is Faith, which is weird for, a character that's named the Flame Prophet, but whatever. It has its strength, dexterity, vigor, and arcane are all at 10, with its endurance being at 8 and its intelligence being at 7. So it's definitely pushed away from mages naturally, but I doubt it'll be much of an issue for those playing the Flame Prophet, because I doubt they are going to start off as wanting to be a mage. They probably wouldn't pick the Flame Prophet, or they don't care. So does have a new seal, which we'll get into later. Anyways, next up is the Fundamentalist at level 8, with Faith also being its strong suit. Its endurance and vigor being at 10, and its strength and dexterity being at 11. Its mind also very good at being at 13, starting off at 13. Its arcane being a little low at 8, and its intelligence being quite low at 6. Now, while this may sound not great, you do have a pretty good, decent start for the strength and dexterity stat, given that, the character starts off with an axe. So it definitely is a relatively good thing. The character starts off strong, and if I had to guess, uses Faith. Well, if I had to guess, it uses Faith. Maybe. I can't be completely sure about that, though. But it definitely seems like a relatively good start for a holy-based character specifically. Next, we have the Bestial Devout, starting off at level 9, and its strong suit also being Faith. Who would have guessed? But it being a little bit better in specific areas, such as its vigor being 13, mind being 12, its endurance being 11, and its strength being 14. Its dex is on the normal side, being at 9, and its intelligence and arcane both just fall a bit short of what would be nice. But considering the character being specifically strength and faith based, I doubt many people will have a problem with that. And I can speak firsthand, the items are pretty good, but we'll wait on that. Next is the Dragon Cultist. Starting off at level 10, Faith also being its primarily scalar once more, strength and dexterity both at 13, endurance being at 10, its vigor also being at 13, and mind at 11. The Dragon Cultist is lightning based to start off with. The intelligence arcane are again lacking, similar to the Beast Devout, but again, considering you are lightning based, you're going to be using incantations, not sorcery, so probably won't be the biggest of problems. Next, we have the Godskin Celebrant, so Black Flame percentile damage. Yippee. Starting off at level 10 with Intelligence and Faith being its primary, and Mind being at 16. Vigor and Strength both being at 10. Dexterity and Endurance being at 9. And Arcane just 1 point short of being 9 itself. A overall good start, and again, you're getting Black Flame, so percentile damage, with a good, I believe, I don't remember the exact name of the weapon, but you do start off with a pretty decent weapon from what I remember. So, definitely a good start there. Next, we have the Frenzied Zealot for you Frigid Flame users. Starting off at level 12, Faith and Intelligence once again ruling supreme at level 15, Endurance at 14, Arcane and Strength being on the lower side with 8, Dexterity being 10, Endurance being 12, and the Vigor being 9. So overall, relatively good stats. It might leave you a bit low than what most people would like, but given again that you're using Frenzied Flame, you're using Madness of all things, I'm sure it won't cause you that many issues when you have something that's a bit on the stronger side of things. Regardless, next up is our Blood Initiate. Bleed. Where's all my bleed users out there? This is for y'all. The Blood Initiate starts off with Reduvia. Yay. Starting off at level 11, Faith and Arcane being its primaries at 14, Vigor and Mind both being at 13, Endurance and Strength at 9, Dexterity at 10, Intelligence on the lower side at 8, but again, your primary going off Bleed. So that should more than satisfy needs. Next up, we have the Servant of Rot. So, those Scarlet Rot enjoyers, this one's also for y'all. Starting off at level 12, Faith and Arcane also being reigning supreme, Dexterity at 12, Mind and Endurance at 11, Vigor at 10, Strength at 9, Intelligence also being on the lower side at 8. An overall good start still. I mean, you're getting and your weapon you're getting is also a pretty good weapon for what it is, base game. Of course, this is the Convergence mod, so damage might be scaled different. Pretty sure it isn't, but I digress. An overall good start with what you're given, and I mean, it's Rot. Rot's pretty cool, I'd say. And you even get, I'd say some relatively cooler looking clothes. Regardless, next up is the Mystic at level 13. Faith and Arcane again being supreme at 16. Intelligence, Dexterity, and Endurance being at 8. And Strength, Mind, and Vigor both being at, all three being at 12. Relatively good for what you're getting. Starting off with Magical, I don't quite remember what it is that their attacks do. I think it's soul-based damage, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but hey, it's pretty cool. Regardless, an overall good start to stuff. You don't have any... I mean, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Endurance are your weaker sides, but again, you're going to be further away. You also start off with a bow, so that's good. Your Pierce is also appears to be a primary. I could be wrong. But overall, good start. You even start off with Ashes of War. Regardless, let's get into the interesting character, the Perfumer. Starting off at level 5, the lowest character we've actually so far looked at. Arcane ruling supreme at 15, Dexterity at 13, Endurance and Vigor at 10, Mind at 11, Strength and Intelligence also at 9, and Faith at 7. So, weaker on the Faith side, but I mean, look at the items you get. You get the perfume bottles, you get a pulley crossbow, a shield, a bunch of throwables. I mean, if you're a person who just likes to get in there and go wild, this is your class. If you like throwing things, this is definitely your class. And finally, we have the Prisoner. Starting off at level 10. Wow, I can't read. My apologies. Starting off at level 1, all of its stats are 10. So, no strong sides, no weak sides. Pretty good middle class. Starting off with just the Club 2. Now, as you'll notice with all of these characters, they all start off with flasks. With their flask, of course, obviously. But they also start off with the horse. Now, I'll get into that in a second, but that is going to be relevant soon. Now, another important thing is the keepsakes. They have changed the keepsakes a bit. So, we do have your normal items, but we do have a few new things. Specifically, the Combat Remnant, the Heirloom Remnant, the Enhanced Remnant, the Warding Remnant. So, I will briefly give you a reason why you should pick one or the other. And then I'll explain deeper reasoning later. So the Combat Remnant, basically, which again I'll go into later because there is more information about it, but I'll get to that later in the video. The Combat Remnant basically gives you talismans. It is a way of getting talismans. A different kind of talismans than what you're normally used to, but it's still, regardless, a talisman. The Heirloom the Heirloom Remnant. I don't know why I can't say that correctly. All right, and now we're in an interesting place that some of y'all, well, realistically, all of y'all, are probably not familiar with. What is this place? What is this area? Well, it's right here on the map, if you didn't know. But in all actuality, this is where you'll start off once you create your character, given the name or whatever. This basically just is basically just welcoming you to the game and giving you the things that you might not understand, and so on forth. So realistically, I could just in the basics here, but let's be honest here, none of us are gonna read all of these. So I'll give you a basic rundown of all of this, or will I? I'm kidding you. So first off, to start off with, the armor abilities. Not the armor abilities. Well, I guess we'll do this one first. I will explain to it what it says, but I'll also leave it up on screen so you can read them if you would rather just read it yourself because you think I suck at this. I understand. So this is just giving you the basic knowledge of class paths. So class paths are basically every class that you pick in the game you will get a specific set of things along with your character the second you leave this area. And these, well, like this says, one of them shows you weapons where you can go to get specific weapons in specific caves or specific bosses that drop these specific weapons for your class that is recommended for your class to use. And that's pretty much all of it. I mean, there's also like just caves that in general give you more moves, which is over here. So the spell runes, like I said, they basically just give you specific items for your spell, such as for the Beast Devout, he gets his stuff is spell based. He gets not spells, but incantation based. So he gets incantations, which is here. Fate, shimmering, glowing. Those are the three. Those are the 6 tiers. These specifically can only be obtained in the realm of shadows, but that's for spell runes too. Base game, you'll just be looking for things to collect by completing the quest lines for your character that you get from your class path over here. Next up is armor abilities. So armor abilities are actually really interesting. So some armor abilities can give you special things, such as FP naturally increasing by itself, or extra health, this or that, extra stats. For example, the Beast Devout set, the entire armor set gives you more stuff into your faith slot, since that's the primary for it, which can definitely be helpful in battle and all of that. Each armor set does add something to your character, so it's really a mix and match kind of thing to give yourself what you want. Of course, there's this stuff that I'm not going to explain because I'm lazy. Yeah, just pause on those if you want. So the keystones is just beating specific enemies. So for example, I can't think of an example, but they basically they give you the basics. They are the things you need to progress throughout the game itself. Such as, you have to go to these specific places. Now, did you see that bird name? I don't know how to say that name, but I'll show you her in a minute. And then remnant crafting. We will touch up on this later. But again, if you want to read it, it's there. Now, I'm just going to pick this stuff up. That gives us the basic stuff. So now we can do crafting. Yippee. Yeah, there's all that. This It's just more gay, more basic stuff, you know. Um, patch notes or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and explain this all to you. I will join. Oh, there's the bird. There's the bird with the word. There it is. Yeah, this bird just tells you, you know, what to do, where you need to go. It's basically the if you get lost in the game, this is where you go to figure out where you're supposed to go. Again, I'll show you the Table of Grace stuff. I'll show you that place in a second. So first though, let's get into the main part. The game. Ugh. So to begin it off, crazy lag spike. But to begin it off, this is the Dreadnought starting area in this shack place. I don't know where it's at. Anyways, so first up, every area will have some sort of item for you to pick up. These are the notes that basically are the quest line. This one path of the Dreadnought basically tells you the basic areas you can go to get specific armor pieces, weapons, this and that, such as, you know, this path gives you the armor to get, and the weapons, well, gives you the weapons, and it tells you the places of where you can find the weapons, and just the general layout of where you need to go to complete your character's quest line. So as you can see, we're here, but what you'll notice, which is quite interesting, is that we're not starting off in the base area. No. Every character, every class starts off in a completely different area based off, well, anything. I mean, they spawn in different areas, which is pretty neat. So, you know, you start off wherever you're at and you just start exploring. Like I said, you instantly start off with your horse. Don't have to go talk to America. You can instantly level up. So, you might be wondering, what is remnant crafting? What does it do? Well, you see, ignore all that on the side. But what you see, this is remnant crafting. It is something you can get here. And there's several types of different remnant crafting. So the enhanced remnant crafting, turns out, does this. It gives you a talisman, specific talisman type. So this stuff is actually magic based. So that's pretty neat. So it can be very helpful to get this item. Next, we have consume all ruins, which pretty self-explanatory. Consuming things. Now, before we get to the transforming armor, we're going to talk about dyes. So, for free of charge, you can change your character to look however you want. You can have your character look really special. You can change the basic things of the character. Such as, you know, you can change like I said, anything. You can change anything about the character. It does not matter. You can also change the intensity of each said color. You know, say I want to be a darker knight with, you know, really clear to see items. I can make myself look like this, and it's completely free of charge. And you can now there's the I give up on her. So this is also free of charge that you can change. So this is my armor. This is the armor I have at the beginning of the game with the Dreadnought. If I don't like how it looks, though, I can change it to whatever. I can, you know, change it to have, you know, whatever. Just whatever I want. I can... You know, I can make myself look stupid. I can like I said, make yourself look however you want to look. Completely free of charge and completely in your control. No one else can control it. So we're and then to disable it, you just pick that and you're back to being normal, old-fashioned you. So that covers the basics, and it also affects things such as your shield, your weapon. It doesn't change the effects they do, of course. It just is a visual change. Now, time to show you some of the more interesting base stuff. So, next up, the bosses. Now, first thing I'm going to show you boss-wise is actually a boss that many of y'all are going to be familiar with. Now, that guy out the way, as you see, we get two different types of remnants. So, I can now show you what those remnants do, and then I can show you what that little portal over there does. So, first up, what do these physic remnants do? Well, they give you specific things for your physics, because you don't naturally find your physics the way you do in the game, which some may like, some may not. But to get a basic gist, you can get, for this specific Essence Physic Remnant, you can get different types of powers that will boost your specific stats. For example, I can get one that can boost my strength by 10, or I could get one that boosts, my strength and faith by 5, which can be very helpful in specific situations where I might need such a thing. Now, I'm not even going to try and say that. This Physic Remnant, this is something that allows you to heal or, gain health or boost your FP, stamina, that kind of stuff. Which is also very neat. And does some extra things. And something that they do differently compared to what base Elden Ring does is they actually give a bit more depth, such as, for example, they tell you that things they give you percentages instead of just telling you that it does this. They give you more specifics. Now, you may be wondering, what's this over here? What's this do? Well, my friend, this is a waypoint, a portal. A portal to where, you may ask? This is a portal to every single tree in the game. You can fast travel from every single tree to any other tree, which is so neat and helps fast traveling the game a lot easier, because these quests, these class path lines, they're different. They do things in a very random order. For example, over here in the snow area, the Dragon Cultist that I showed you earlier about the lightning, they have their second boss path thing they do actually starts out over here, but you can just fast travel straight to this area and not even have to deal with it. Like I said, every tree now has a boss. And if you haven't been that boss, you actually start off having to fight the boss before you can get to the items, which is most definitely a neat and interesting twist to this overall good system. Now let me deal with this guy, and I'll be back shortly. So, on something to actually continue on, as you saw, this was just a normal Erdtree enemy, but they actually did get a second phase for this, which is just so neat of the game to do. Now, it's not neat of my health or my lack of skill, but it's still pretty cool. Alright, now that I have that enemy dealt with, I can show you more of the Remnant stuff. Yay! But again, as I said, now that we have this space unlocked, we can teleport from this place to any other ones, which really, like I said, genuinely helps fast traveling, especially in this game with how they have quest lines. Now, back to what I said before. As you can see, these tiers, you know, I can get whatever I want. So let's just slap some dexterity. And here, this prowess, this gives you these kinds of attacks, which I would name, but genuinely I can't think of a name for them. So I'm just gonna be unspecific as well. I apologize. I'll work on it. But you know, for example, I could get enhanced jump attacks, and it actually gives me a percentage, which is a lot nicer. Again, now the enduring physic remnant also is very interesting and important to understand. So this gives me stuff that can either, you know, this is damage based stuff, you know, that can help me avoid less damage, or, you know, turn my damage into HP if I receive it, or, you know, allows me to have better rolls, this and that. I'm not going to explain too in depth because I suck at this. I apologize, guys. I really do. I suck at this. But you know what? We're working through it. Alright, guys. If y'all enjoyed this video, then please like, subscribe, and as a beginner YouTuber, if you could give me some words, maybe tell me what I could do better, what I could do, what I did wrong, I would greatly appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you a better understanding of just what you're getting into by playing the Convergence mod. And I hope it has convinced you that you still want to play it. I've got butt to kick. Geronimo!